Hello, second grade. So today's math lesson is lesson 7.5 on estimating measurements using customary units. So today we're going to talk about estimating measurements. And when you estimate, you are making an educated guess. So today we're going to think about measurements in terms of inches, feet, and yards. So let's review the relative size of these three customary units. So the first customary unit that we learned is the inch. And we know that the inch is the smallest unit of measurement in the customary system. It's about the size of a quarter, the size of a snap cube, or the size of a paper clip. The next customary unit is the foot. And a foot is equal to 12 inches. A foot is about the size of a notebook, a mom or an adult's foot, and a football. And the last customary unit that we learned is the yard. And a yard is equal to 36 inches, or it's equal to 3 feet. A yard is about the height of a chair, or it's about the distance from your chin to your fingertip. Keep these in mind. These will help you when you are working on your independent practice today. So I'm going to give you 3 different objects, and I want you to turn and talk with a partner or a friend, a parent, sibling, whoever you have around you about what unit of measurement you would use to measure these items. So the first thing I want you to think about is a pencil. For a pencil, would you use inches, feet, or would you use a yard to measure a pencil? You can pause the video if needed. So if you guessed the inch, you are correct. You would most definitely use inches to measure a pencil because the yard and the foot would be entirely too long for a pencil. Now I want you to think about an anchor chart. We have anchor charts hanging all over the walls in our classroom. Do you think you would use the inch, the foot, or the yard to measure an anchor chart? Think about it. What would be the quickest way to measure it? So if you guessed the foot, you are correct. The foot would be the quickest way to measure an anchor chart. You could also use inches to measure an anchor chart, because an anchor chart isn't so big that you would need to use a yardstick. Now the last thing I want you to think about is a school bus. Would you use an inch, a foot, or a yard to measure the length of a school bus the quickest? If you guessed the yard, you are correct. That would be the fastest way for you to measure the length of a school bus, because a school bus is very long, and if you used a yardstick, you would be able to measure a whole lot faster than you would be able to if you used feet or if you used inches. All right, so now we're going to do some partner practice. I'm going to show you some pictures of some different items, and I want you to take your best guess, your educated guess, so you're estimating which answer you think is the best. So the first one we have is the keyboard. Your estimate, do you think the keyboard is 2 feet or 2 inches? 2 feet or 2 inches? If you guess 2 feet, you are correct. It might not be quite 2 feet, but this is an estimate, so we're getting as close as we can. We know it can't be 2 inches because 2 inches is only about that wide, and that is definitely smaller than a keyboard. Now think about a swing set. Do we think a swing set is 3 inches or 3 yards? If you guessed 3 yards, you are correct again. and you're thinking about the size of those, it might not be exact, but you know 3 inches is pretty small because that's the smallest unit of measurement. So 3 yards would be the best guess. Now think about a bus. You think a bus is 40 inches or 40 feet? If you guessed 40 feet, you are correct because 40 inches is not very long at all. Okay, our last one is a lollipop. Do you think a lollipop would be 5 inches or 5 feet? If you guessed 5 inches, you are correct. If you think about the size of a lollipop, it's definitely not 5 feet. That would be almost as tall as probably your mom. That's a very large lollipop. All right, friends, that's it for our lesson today. Remember, when you're working on your independent practice, to use your best educated guess or your estimate when you're thinking about if you would measure in inches, feet, or with a yard. Happy learning.